The Bible is filled with clear instructions about what is acceptable behavior for Christians and what is not. Some of these commands are straightforward, like "Thou shalt not murder," a law that forms the foundation of any civilized society. Another fundamental command is "Thou shalt not commit adultery," which addresses the deep betrayal involved in infidelity and the harm it causes. These commands are easy to understand and follow, even for those with a basic sense of morality. However, some biblical warnings are often treated more like suggestions than actual commandments. Many Christians, perhaps even you, may unknowingly overlook these warnings or justify their actions, thinking they're not really doing anything wrong. Here are 7 biblical warnings that Christians need to stop ignoring. 1. Thou shalt not steal. No one likes to think of themselves as a thief, but the truth is, many people engage in theft without even realizing it. How often have you taken office supplies home from work thinking it's no big deal? You might justify it by saying you needed pens or pencils for your kids, but the fact remains, you've stolen from your employer. Similarly, if you spend time browsing social media or shopping online during work hours when you're supposed to be working, you're essentially stealing time from your employer. Another common form of theft today is pirating music, movies, or software. Many people have thousands of songs on their devices, yet they haven't paid for most of them. Ripping songs off YouTube or downloading pirated content is stealing. If you want to live a life that reflects your Christian values, start by paying for what you use and stop pretending that it's harmless. 2. Do not give false testimony against your neighbor. When we think of bearing false witness, we might picture a courtroom drama where a witness is caught lying under oath. Most people know better than to commit perjury, but that doesn't mean we're not guilty of giving false testimony in other ways. Every time you exaggerate how difficult a coworker is or spread rumors on social media, you're bearing false witness. Even lying to make someone look better is still giving false testimony. It's time to cut the lying out of your life and commit to speaking the truth. 3. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. Coveting can be tricky because many people aren't sure what it really means. Does it refer to envious thoughts or unethical actions? If it's about jealousy, then everyone struggles with it at some point. But coveting isn't just about wanting what others have. It's about letting that desire lead to negative actions. If you undermine someone's relationship out of jealousy, you're coveting. If you support policies that take from the wealthy out of anger that you don't have what they do, you're coveting. Coveting isn't just wanting what someone else has. It's trying to take it or destroy it because you can't have it. 4. Do not be like the hypocrites in prayer. Jesus was clear about his disdain for hypocrisy, especially when it came to the Pharisees. He warned against praying just to be seen by others, saying in Matthew 6:5, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men." Self-righteousness and hypocrisy are some of the quickest ways to get under Jesus' skin. Instead of showing off your faith on social media or trying to prove your piety, be genuine in your relationship with God. Remember, God sees through every facade. Make sure that what you present to others matches what God sees in your heart. 5. Confess your sins to each other. Admitting you're wrong is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most important. James 5:16 says, "Therefore, confess your sins to each other that you may be healed. Saying I was wrong or I apologize requires humility, but it's essential for healing and growth. Many people try to avoid admitting their mistakes by quietly changing their behavior or trying to make up for it without actually apologizing. However, nothing heals wounds like an honest apology. If you want to follow Christ's example, get used to admitting your mistakes and seeking forgiveness. It's not easy, but it's necessary for a healthy spiritual life. 6. No one can serve two masters. Many Christians are familiar with the Bible's warnings about the dangers of loving money too much. Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money." But money isn't the only master we might be tempted to serve. Some people obsess over power, prestige, or recognition. In today's social media-driven world, popularity can become a dangerous master. People do and say almost anything for more likes and followers. But God doesn't care about your social media stats. He cares about your heart. Make sure your priorities are in line with God's will, not the world's approval. 7. Do not turn back to your old ways. In Galatians 4:9, Paul warns, "But now that you know God, or rather are known by God, how is it that you are turning back to those weak and miserable forces?" Paul was upset with the Galatian church for returning to their old ways after coming to Christ. The Bible makes it clear that when you change your life for God, it's supposed to be a lasting change. You can't live for God for a few months or years and then go back to your old habits. If you find yourself slipping back into old sins, remember that you're called to live a holy and righteous life at all times, not just when it's convenient. The warnings in the Bible are there for a reason. They're not just suggestions that you can follow when it's convenient. Living a life that pleases God means taking these warnings seriously and applying them to your daily life. If you find yourself justifying questionable behavior or hiding your actions, it's time to take a closer look at your heart. Remember, it's not holiness that people try to hide. It's sin